So at what point are we going to stop pretending that this is normal? At what point are people going to stop trying to spin this? When will our media finally stop giving both sides and just lay out the facts? When will we stop putting liars on TV or allowing media networks to broadcast propaganda and call it news? At what point are we finally going to call a spade and be like, holy shit, we made a big mistake?
This is for you.
We all knew from the beginning who this man was, and if so many hadn't personally benefited, we might have avoided this. If his shady business dealings had actually been looked into, we knew who he was, and we let it continue. We gave a narcissistic sociopath with no platform or moral compass, questionable business dealings, and sketchy foreign relationships access to the highest levels of government of the most powerful nation. We made the thinnest skinned man practically untouchable. We can't be that surprised you didn't want to give it up. So here we are.
Kaikene, Fred Wanko, Ezudo, Ezenwafosi Ajalebia, Publisher, African Lifestyle Magazine, Chicago. Wanfo nte Chicago Chiejemba. Andoma no na Chicago. Okwanko no namba ne Hey,
hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wanko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on LNTV. And as usual, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. Today, we're going to be starting out very briefly talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but that's not what our show is about today. Today, our show is about Nnamdi Kanu and how his plight relates to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and probably the conspiracies of the different world powers whose only focus is the resources in Nigeria and in Africa. And because of that dubious motive, even the United States, that's the champion of human rights, doesn't have much time to address issues that relate to people like Nnamdi Kanu. Try and see how we tie them together. It's a potpourri, and you're going to enjoy this edition. Just bear with me. I'm going somewhere with this. And the place I'm going is that Nigerians should be thinking about the man they have as their president, as we start to see the plans that America and the other powers that be have for exploiting Africa. And it makes you wonder, who is supporting Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
And he is still being supported by people who choose power over morality, ruling over governing, and profit over truth. This country is sick, and we need to break the fever. This is the same man telling us that should he win again, his plan is to centralize the power of the federal government around the presidency and purge anyone who isn't 100% loyal to him. He's telling us he wants to be a dictator, and we are acting like this is just another election. Every single thing you've heard about election interference, ballot irregularities, fake ballots, stolen elections, corrupted machines were lies and projections from the party who wanted to stay in power against the will of the voter. We right this ship one way, by holding everyone involved accountable and by decimating the party that endorsed it at the voting booth.
How do you hold them accountable? How? All these conspiracy theories don't bode well for Nnamdi Kanu. And supporters of Nnamdi Kanu, I mean genuine supporters, not the noisemakers, really need to start re-strategizing how to go about getting this young man out of that lockup. Because the more you see what the powers around the world, the Americas, the Britons, the Frances, are doing as a plot to exploit resources in Africa, you're going to see that even the champion of human rights, which is America, may not be too interested in the well-being of the Nnamdi Kanus of Nigeria, and as long as the person holding the key to releasing Nnamdi Kanu is giving them what they want, which is Nigeria's resources, then they have no interest in telling him about the human rights violations, which is the main thing about the reason why Nnamdi Kanu should be released.
The longer Nnamdi Kanu remain in prison, the more the cause he is fighting for is being flourished by his own detention. Tinubu is a president that came from the trenches. He is one of those who fought for democracy and freedom. And I believe, if not for the fact that he went to exile, he could have ended up in prison with us in the 90s. Then someone of his own stature cannot be lectured about democracy or human rights, because we were all in the trenches fighting. So my expectation is that the problem cannot be solved by keeping the leader of the struggle perpetually in prison. You don't solve the problem. You can only solve the problem if you discuss the problem.
Now listen to Omoyele Sowore's input into the Nnamdi Kanu situation. Listen.
Well, what you must know is that Nnamdi Kanu is being held hostage on behalf of the famed unity of Nigeria. That's what it's all about. It's as simple as that. If you mention his name in certain circles, they don't want to hear it because they feel like he threatens the real estate called Nigeria. And his Igbo makes it worse because Nigeria's DNA hates the Igbo for attempting, in the 60s and, towards the end of the 70s, to leave a country they said is no longer favorable to their existence. But the truth is that Nnamdi Kanu has been held hostage. He was abducted from Kenya, extraordinary rendition. The fact that he's kidnapped from Kenya could not be explained shows that any judicial pronouncement or processes after that is null and void. You cannot go and kidnap somebody and bring them before a court. And the courts have made it very clear, even up to the Supreme Court, that he did not jump bail. It was the military that went to his house to kill people, and then he escaped. And now you have brought him back. You ought to respect and restore his bail. That's what I told his lawyers. Why are you applying for bail again? Because the Supreme Court made all the pronouncements except releasing him. And I think it was because they were afraid. And I'm not here to fetish being able. But the reality is that they are not treated fairly. And Nnamdi Kanu is part of the reason why that is clear to everybody.
Right.
And by the way, I must also reveal here that there are some Igbo elites who are behind this. Whenever there's a crime of conspiracy against freedom fighters, there are people inside and outside who are working together.
Conspiracy theories abound about why Nnamdi Kanu is still being held in jail. One of the most intriguing conspiracy theories is the coincidence of Nnamdi Kanu's case after he was kidnapped from Kenya and brought back to Nigeria. The coincidence of having his case tried in the courtroom of Justice Binta Nyako, who is the wife of a former governor that is being probed by EFCC and Buhari's administration, who are the ones who assigned Nnamdi Kanu's case to Binta's court, have been hell-bent on sending this man to jail or recovering what he allegedly stole from his state. I'm not here to defend Governor Nyako. I'm just saying that if it smells like a rat, or if it quacks like a dog, walks like a dog, and does everything like a dog, it's a dog. Binta Nyako, the conspiracy theory says, is being blackmailed. And I would like you to listen to Nnamdi Kanu and his opinion on why he's still being held and how they are using Binta Nyako's court as their bait for keeping him locked up, because they know that she's one judge who has her hands tied, and if she makes the wrong move, they may put her husband away for a very long time. Listen to Nnamdi Kanu's take on the matter. It will make you really start to think.
The more evil you are, the more you rise up in the judiciary. That is why they want to blackmail Binta Nyako into oblivion. Because of me, they arrested Binta Nyako's husband and son. They claim they are being tried by EFCC. So that if Binta Nyako were to acquit me, they will jail the husband and the child. That is how evil the zoo is. That's how bad they are. But she courageously gave me bail. She knew I did nothing wrong. She knew it. They were pressuring her. Revoke his bail. And she said no. They have done nothing wrong. They don't know all these things. They called her to a meeting in Maiduguri where they were insulting her. That didn't work. They took her to another meeting in Sokoto where they called all the northern, I don't know if I'll call them leaders, to be insulting her because of me. That she should have jailed me. That nothing will happen. That Igbo leaders have signed up to it. That Ohaneze is with them. Ohaneze and Dioshi. I will come to the meetings they've been holding against me and IPOB later on. But Binta Nyako stood strong. I'm not sure at all that the intimidation she's been forced to endure will ever stop. I don't think so. Good people like that never get to become the chief judge of the federation. Have you forgotten that Dasuki and El Zagzagi are still in prison? Have you forgotten that innocent IPOB family members are still in jail? Why are they in prison? Did the court say that Dasuki should be freed on bail? Yes. Did the court say that El Zagzagi and the wife should be freed on bail? The answer is yes. Now ask yourself this question. What are all the judges in Nigeria doing? Why haven't they gone on strike to say if you cannot obey simple court order, our job is meaningless? They never took them to Binta Nyako, Nnamdi Dimba, Justice Kolawale, Justice Ademola. These are good judges in Nigeria, I'm telling you. They will not take them to these judges. Because when Binta Nyako gives you bail, Binta Nyako will tell the people there, he has bail. Don't go near his house, so don't do anything. But of course they defied her, they came to kill me. Because they didn't want to take my men to Abuja. I promised them I was going to bring 2 million men. And they know I would do it. Instead, they chose to come to kill me. When some reporters that are writing for Tinubu Nation newspaper, when they report it, you wouldn't know. You would say, oh, Nnamdi Kanu, where is he? Did he jump bail? Tinubu's newspaper will not tell you that the army came to kill me and killed 28 people in the process. No, they won't tell you that. And they want me to be in the same country with them.
One really has to feel very sad for Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu's cause is the Igbo cause in Nigeria, regardless of who supports him or not. The cause he's fighting for is the Igbo cause. We may differ on how to get there, but the cause is an Igbo cause. And he happens to be caught on the crossroads of very corrupt people who are desperate to hold on to power. And to hold on to power, they have to cower to a lot of people who don't have Nigeria's interest at heart. The one who would have been able to help him, America, will rather exploit what they want out of Nigeria and then ignore the atrocities that the Nigerian government is committing. It's very unfortunate. Folks, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is compromised. You can't expect him not to dish out 90 billion naira to subsidize the Hajj, because that's the base that elected him. He has to cater to the base that elected him. The only way this can stop is that Nigerians have to reject him and reject that base and put their foot down and say, Bole Yako ya Bole Dogun ko Dogun Nkene Mechi Yame today. That's the only way this is going to change. Nigerians have to stop it. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is compromised. He's compromised in Nigeria. He's compromised in West Africa. He's compromised in Africa. He's compromised outside Africa. There's not a single thing Biden asks of him today that's going to hurt Nigerians that he's not going to give to Biden. There's not a single thing Macron asks of him today that's going to hurt Nigerians that he's not going to give to Macron. There's not a single day Britain asks of him, or the Economic Union, or Russia, or China, or anybody, or Saudi Arabia, he's not going to give them. They have him by the proverbial balls. And if he doesn't give it up, they'll squeeze the balls tighter. He was elected illegally. He's illegitimate. The only way to legitimize his place in Asher Rock is to keep cowering to everybody that doesn't deserve what he's given them. We knew Bola Ahmed Tinubu has never done anything in his life that wasn't crooked. Go back and take a look at his life. His parentage is crooked. We don't know where he came from. There are no elementary school records. He faked them. There are no secondary school records. He faked them. There are no university records. He faked them. In 1999 or 98, when Gani Fawehinmi was trying to stop him in Lagos, Fulanis didn't stop him, stop Gani. Igbos didn't stop Gani. It was Yorubas who stopped Gani from stopping Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Which is why when I see these tribalistic things, I laugh. We do tribalism when other tribes are involved, but the reality is that within all the different tribes, we are the ones hurting ourselves. Nobody from Oyo, Osun, Ondo, or Ekiti came to Lagos to install Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 1999. It was Yorubas in Lagos. And today you think your problem is the Igbo man in Lagos. But your problem is the man you keep empowering to destroy you and now destroy Nigeria. Bola Ahmed Tinubu fits into everything that America and France and Britain and the European Union and Russia and China are looking for in Africa. He fits into everything they need out of Nigeria. They don't care about his qualifications. They care that he sits there as a stooge and give them what they're looking for. Listen to this video that was a slip of tongue coming out of America. Just listen.
Thank you. Chair Langley, can you talk about why we care about what's happening in Africa right now? I mean, if you tell the American taxpayer, why are we there? Why are we spending the money we're spending there?
Thanks for the question, Senator. For access and influence, I'd say that a number of countries are at the tipping point of actually being captured by the Russian Federation, as they are spreading some of their false narratives across Libya. And from a strategic answer piece, access and influence across the whole Maghreb, that is NATO's southern flank. We need to be able to maintain access and influence across the Maghreb from Morocco all the way to Libya. The PRC and Russia are also remaining exploitative where possible and coercive when necessary. They want that ground. They want power projection capabilities. So for the most part, the rest of the continent is also for mining concessions, whether it be gold or rare earth minerals. Both of them have a long-range plan. But I think at the accelerated pace, the Russian Federation is really trying to take over Central Africa as well as the Sahel. So, Senator, right now, China has a plan, a long-range plan, but they're coming in with their Belt and Road initiatives. But I think they do have global aspirations for a security construct to get a decisive advantage over the United States. We need activities and investments to deter that. Especially engaging with our partners, our African partners, and telling them to ensure that they're not militarized. So this takes information campaign that's successful, but also assurance actions of building partnership capacity where they won't need China in their false offerings of security construct.
Thank you.
Folks, I am shamed to be listening to policymakers in America talk about their goals in a foreign land where you have independent countries that run their own countries, quote unquote, and none of those countries are sitting at the table where the discussions are being made about how their resources and their lands are going to be controlled. It's embarrassing. We brag about our PhDs. We brag about working at the same jobs with Americans and doing better than them. We compete better. But do we really compete better? A person completely controls your continent, makes policies that relate to your continent without your leaders at the table. And when they bring your leaders to the table, all they do is sign off because they are puppets. And these foreign interests will do everything it takes to make sure that African leaders that are going to negotiate in the best interest of Africa will never smell power in Africa, and if they do, they will be assassinated. This country was built on the pain and the sweat of African Americans. It is the same African Americans that have paved the way for you and I who migrated here to achieve the things we've achieved over the last 60 years. Without African Americans paving that way, there'll be no us in America. So what's wrong with me, like I'm African American, saying that it's time to renegotiate the relationship between America and black people and America and Africans back home. I didn't say let's jump up and embrace Russia and China. I said let's renegotiate what we're doing with America and Britain and the European Union. And while we're doing that, let's also listen more carefully to China and Russia, even if it's with an arm's length. But let's listen and make sure that at the table where we're talking to Russia and China, that we're talking about Africa's interest, not Russia's interest, not China's interest. It's the same African idiots that never opened up their minds to think deeper about what I'm saying, but you are blinded by the little thing you've achieved. Who the hell is China and Russia? Why should I dare say that we need to renegotiate with America? The America, you're carried away by the fantasies that you experience in your $400,500,000 and $800,000 mansions. And you think you've arrived, when you don't know that the same white people you work with, when it comes to real discussions about life, are going to discriminate against you and look down on you as a damn nigger. That's what they call you. Excuse my language to the people who understand what I'm saying, but I'll double up on that language to the ignorant Africans who question me for saying that we need to renegotiate our relationships with white people, Americans, the British, the European Union. The resources with which they build their country comes from our country, our continent. Yet our continent is a dungeon while they take all the resources without paying us fair price for it. Think about how much America and Britain and the European Union have taken out of Nigeria and every other African country, Niger, Cameroon, Chad, Mali, Guinea, Sudan. Think about it. What they bring us is military bases, not to protect us, not to defend us, but to defend their selfish interests in Africa so they can keep taking out our natural resources. Uranium, oil, gas, and everything else they need. When are Africans gonna wake up and think and stop being brainwashed? And for all those people who attacked me for suggesting that Africa needs to reevaluate our relationship with the United States, Britain, and the European Union, in your brainwash, you think you're secure. You live in a nice mansion in America. You drive a nice car in America. You have a nice job in America, but you can't go to your village in Africa because if you go there, you'll be dead. But America has its armies and its boats and its warships within 200 miles of your village, not to protect you and your interest, and not to protect your democracy, but to support whatever puppet they put there to protect their interest, to keep taking from Africa what they are not given. They give you humanitarian aid. They give you aid. What kind of aid does America give you? They give you aid, but they control the dollars in the aid. They give you aid, they give you $50 million, and when it's all said and done, $40 million come back to America through salaries to the people who they send there to run the aid they are giving you, and through the things they are stealing from you because your puppets let them negotiate these things that are so one-sided. Nigeria has oil, but Nigeria can't drive cars today because the oil prices are so high. Nigeria has oil, but the European Union and America are buying the oil at prices that there are no profits, and the little profit that is left is going to the puppets and their cronies and their cabals. How long are you going to be slaves? Physical slaves, mental slaves, PhDs that are uneducated, PhDs that cannot negotiate fair terms, PhDs that cannot use their votes in America to develop the same clout that Israel has, which is why America quivers when Israel sneezes. Africans should be ashamed of themselves. Many of you were busy criticizing the soundbite that Africa needs to listen more to Russia and China and rethink our relationship with America, that you failed to listen to the message. And I'm bringing you the message again.
Led by the United States. They have come to Southern Africa to teach us democracy. A country that was opposed to our liberation, a country that supported colonial regimes, the apartheid regime in South Africa, the white racist minority regime in Zimbabwe, now Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, the Portuguese colonial governments in Mozambique, in Angola, in Guinea-Bissau, and Cape Verde, today is coming to Africa to teach us about democracy. A country that has toppled so many governments in Africa, that has led so many coups in Africa and other parts of the world, a country that has killed so many of our leaders in Africa and other parts of the world, the killers of Patrice Lumumba, those who toppled Kwame Nkrumah, those who killed Nasser, those who killed Muammar Gaddafi, today are coming to teach us about democracy. A country that has been built on brutal force, on enslavement of other human beings, on the humiliation of Africans, the exploitation of Africans, the plunder of Africa, today is coming to teach us about democracy.
Folks, these are the people you want us to listen to and negotiate with our eyes closed. No, I'm not done. I'm not done. Don't relax and think I'm done. I'm really bringing it on today. And you need to share it. Share the video. Because the shame is that in the end we get 1,000 views, 1,500 views, 2,000 views. We should be getting 100,000 views. And it starts with you sharing it. That's how we grow, if you like what we're doing. Now, also listen to the one that follows. It's not me saying it. It's not a black person saying it. It's a white man saying it. Just listen to what he's saying.
I've only got time to turn to the funniest story of the week. Joe Biden is currently holding a democracy summit in southern Africa. That's right. In the very place where the United States and the United Kingdom and France and all the other so-called West supported racist, apartheid, white supremacist states right up until the very end. Margaret Thatcher, I was there, saw her lips move, called Nelson Mandela a common terrorist. The United States took Mandela off the terrorist list in 2008, in the 18th year of his presidency of the Republic of South Africa. And I got to thinking when I saw a very harrowing picture posted by one of my friends on Twitter earlier this evening. It's a picture that deserves to be seen far more widely. You'll find it on my Twitter feed. It's a picture of the Congo's first Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba, half naked, in shackles, being pushed down aircraft steps by a Belgian military officer after his overthrow in a coup organized and executed by Britain, Belgium, and the United States of America. The newly elected President Jack Kennedy knew nothing of this coup, and the CIA defied him, lied to him, and conducted this coup behind their new president's back. But it happened. The CIA, MI6, and the hated Belgian colonist government that was finally having to leave power took this fine man, probably the greatest of all African leaders, and murdered him. They then dismembered him. They then dissolved him in acid and sent one of his teeth back to Brussels for safekeeping, for DNA. It was only returned to the Congo last year. The West murdered Patrice Lumumba. The West helped keep Nelson Mandela in prison for 27 years, most of them on Devil's Island, Robben Island, in the dungeons of apartheid. The West supported racist apartheid rule in the very southern Africa they're now holding a summit in to tell Africans how important their democracy is. There's the picture of the hero Patrice Lumumba being led down the steps of that aircraft to his death, his dismemberment, and his dissolving in acid. You couldn't make it up. And they wonder why Africans are utterly unmoved at their pleas to reject China and Russia and embrace them instead. China never occupied a square inch of Africa. Russia never occupied a square inch of Africa. As a matter of fact, when the West was supporting apartheid and white supremacist rule in southern Africa, it was the Russians who were arming, financing, and providing the diplomatic skeleton, backbone for the worldwide activities of the anti-apartheid movement, of the movement for liberation in southern Africa. I have many times spoken at the Patrice Lumumba University for the Friendship of the Peoples. It's not in San Francisco, it's not in London, and it certainly isn't in Brussels. It's in Moscow. It's in Russia. I have been there, spoken there many times. Does that little vignette not explain something to you, the viewers, and the wider public about why the Africans will never hate Russia, will never hate China? China is building roads, railways, terminals, ports, harbors, infrastructure all over Africa. All the so-called West did was loot it and steal even the people of Africa themselves, chain them in the holds of ships, sailed them through the Middle Passage, tossing thousands of them overboard when they died as food for the sharks, and then those lucky enough to reach land were placed as beasts of burden in chains as slaves. You want Africans to support you, Mr. Biden, Mr. Sunak, Miss von der Leyen, Mr. Borrell, the people you just described as the people of the jungle while you sat in your garden. How does your garden grow now, Mr. Borrell? Have you seen the streets of France?
Yes, I am very upset. Yes, it's very painful doing this edition. Yes, I was very harsh, especially on my other country, the United States of America. But yes, I believe I have the right to vent. And I believe that the United States of America can do the right thing. It's okay for the United States of America to look out for the best interest of America. But it's also okay for Africans to organize, have the structures that are needed to go and talk to their House of Rep members, talk to their senators, talk to the mayors of the cities where they live, talk to the governors of the states where they live, talk to the business leaders, and go all the way to the White House and talk to the people responsible and tell them that we don't want Africa's resources to be kept away from anybody who needs Africa's resources. We live in America. We want to see that Africa's resources, the ones that America needs, gets to America. But we want Africa to play a role in negotiating the terms of engagement. And that's not too much to ask. The United States of America is a democracy. The United States of America allows people to express how they feel. This is how I feel. And I would like the United States of America to accord Africa the respect to be at the table where they're making decisions that affect Africa. And I'd like the United States of America to hold African leaders accountable and stop using them as stooges to hurt Africans. That's not too much to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Island TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Elenge ya mwasi ya kokinde kokabola bango soki ya kotina katina bango na likambo ya falanga lakanisi bino moko boyebi malamu baninga nakanisi peteo na makambo oyo kotia tembete baninga bangai boye kende epai ya basusi makambo bakosambaka mosusu yango oyo likambo toko welaka likambo ya mbongo na basi